Florida is a state that is magic for the millions of tourists and residents who experience it every day. The palm trees and the oceans and the weather make it a magnet for the whole world. In fact, every day, 1,000 new people come to Florida to live. That's the good news. The challenging news is that the Sunshine State is under pressure from population growth and many other forces that could disrupt our way of life. The big question is how Florida will respond to these challenges. In mid-September 2013, 300 state leaders from all sectors of Florida met for 2 days in Orlando for intensive work to set achievable goals for the next 10 years and beyond in several critical areas of public policy. It was called the Sayfie Leaders Summit 2013 and was the brainchild of Justin Sayfie, a lawyer from Fort Lauderdale who publishes the highly popular Sayfie Review website. Mr. Sayfie opened the summit.
On behalf of the summit sponsors and its thought leadership partners, I'd like to personally welcome you to the Sayfie Review Florida Leaders Summit version 1.0. What a special day today is for Florida. Sitting in this room right now is the most unique assemblage of Florida's leaders in the history of the state of Florida. Never before have Florida's leaders gathered together in a forum like this. Each of you, by your presence, is making history. Just listen to some of the Florida leaders who are with us or will be with us today. The governor of the state of Florida, the attorney general of the state of Florida, the commissioner of agriculture of the state of Florida, the CFO of the state of Florida, a delegation of over 30 members of the Florida legislature, including senators and members of the House of Representatives. We have a delegation of 15 business leaders from the Florida Council of 100, county commissioners from Leon County to Broward County, and mayors and city commissioners from Pensacola to Lakeland to Miami Gardens are with us. The CEOs of some of Florida's largest charitable foundations that donate tens of millions of dollars per year to help make Florida a better place are with us. We have college presidents, university professors, and editorial page editors from some of Florida's largest newspapers. We have top labor union leaders, the state's top environmental advocates, representatives from the League of Women Voters. There are 3 members here from the Florida Public Service Commission, the Commissioner of Education for the state of Florida, the Chairman of the State Board of Education, the Chairman of the Florida Transportation Commission. We even have the Chair of the Florida Parole Commission with us. In the next 24 hours, as we engage each other and take on Florida's challenges, it's important that we do so with a Florida-first mindset and attitude. A sacred text tells us that there's a season for everything under the sky. There's a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to live and a time to die. We can be as partisan as we want to be the other 363 days of the year. But it's my prayer that today and tomorrow will be the season for all of us to have the courage to check our logos at the door, to take off whatever other hat we wear the rest of the year, and to put on our Florida hats as we engage each other.
Pam Bondi, Florida's Attorney General, explained the significance of the meeting.
This awesome event brings together policymakers and people engaged in the political process who have the opportunity to come together and discuss issues and ways to continue to make our great state even a greater state. I still believe we're the greatest state in the country. And what makes Florida such an amazing place is our willingness and our ability to come together from every part of the state and to discuss openly and honestly issues that we all care about. You know, we all hear about partisan issues. The majority of what we do is bipartisan. And that's what makes our state so special. You know, it's not what we can do, but what we need to do to make a difference, not just for today, but for tomorrow, for our state, and for our great country.
Florida Governor Rick Scott spoke to the leaders.
The most important thing we can do is make sure this is the state. Everybody's got a shot Give me when I was growing up, I just wanted my chance to live the American dream. That should be our mantra. We want to make Florida the chance that anybody, whether you come from public housing or you grew up with plenty of money, you have your shot to do whatever you want in your life. Build your dream. If we do that, this will be the greatest place to live in the greatest country in the world. So thanks for what you're doing. Have a great event. And Justin, thank you very much for putting this together. This will have a big impact on the future of our state. Have a great evening.
Senate President-designate Andy Gardner was there as well.
The state of Florida, the economy is getting stronger, housing market's getting stronger. So events like this, to get together and really talk about, as Governor Bush called them, big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAGs. It's perfect timing. You know, we're coming out of some very difficult years, and as a member of the Senate, I think I can speak for all my colleagues that we're going to be thinking about that, not just next year and the year after, but let's start planning 5 years from now.
Also in attendance, State Representative Steve Crisafulli, the next Speaker of the Florida House. He is a Republican from Merritt Island. As an incoming Speaker, meaning that you will be Speaker in 2015 and 16, you have to be concerned about certain trends that are occurring that in a variety of areas for Florida's future. Are there a couple of particular issue areas that you will be sensitive to?
Well, first and foremost, I got to get reelected before I'm Speaker, so we're going to work on that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, no, I mean, I think this type of opportunity brings a lot of ideas together. Obviously, you know, we're always talking about education and healthcare, but certainly today we're going to talk about energy and water. Those are two issues that are certainly important to the future of Florida, and there's been a lot of conversations lately on those two issues. So we're going to, you know, listen in and hear what people have to say.
Disrupt Florida was the theme of the first day of the summit. Keynote speaker and Huffington Post founder Arianna Huffington shared her views on how disruptive forces have spawned a revolution in the media.
Is that we have moved from presentation to participation. So in the old days of media, it was all about the media gods up on Mount Olympus telling us how the world is. And that has now dramatically changed. At the heart of every successful media enterprise is the reader, the viewer, the consumer. And that applies to media companies as well as to brands. I know there are many CEOs here, and you see how brands are engaging differently with their consumers than they used to. The whole point here is that participation is now key to the disruption in the media sphere.
The Sayfie Leadership Summit was modeled after the World Economic Forum held in Davos, Switzerland, which brings together businessmen and women, political leaders, academic professionals, and media leaders from all over the world. The Sayfie Summit centered around 7 policy issues. They were K-12 public schools, higher education, energy, tourism, transportation, health, and water. We now go to a discussion of forces that might disrupt Florida. On the summit agenda was higher education and the impact of online learning. Donna Shalala, president of the University of Miami, believes how we view online learning needs to evolve.
It's the linking of the courses that is important. And right now, online is just a bunch of discrete courses. That's not the kind of in-depth learning that prepares someone to absorb new technologies, to understand context and history. But for some people, the assembly of courses is going to be the only way in which they're going to be able to get a degree or finish a degree.
House Speaker Will Weatherford has made online learning a state priority.
The demand is there, and technology is changing the way we learn as a society. And there is tension, I think, in the education community about what this really means. I've just found it, not just me, but there's some members of the legislature who are here. I see Eric Fresno as one of them who's sitting in the back. We have, as a body, embraced kind of the chaos. You know, technology brings a certain amount of chaos to education because it is uncertain. But I think in the House, we've decided, as opposed to fighting it, we want to embrace it and try to utilize it to do great things, and so that Florida can lead. We also don't want to wait for another state or another country to figure it out. We want to be on the front end of it, and that's what we've tried to do both in K-12 and higher education. we have to also remember why we're doing this. What is the purpose of embracing online education? I think the purpose of it is by embracing education in a format that everyone has access to it. So there's no longer this difference in class. It doesn't matter what high school you went to, whether your mother or father had an education, you now have access to the highest quality of education at the tip of your fingers, no matter who you are.
The breakout panel on water was chaired by Florida Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam.
Sure.
What came out of your panel?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the water crisis, the water challenges, it's a statewide problem. We just camped out on the Apalachicola issue. That is every bit as important to the future of Florida as the Lake Okeechobee issue. Our springs issues and the challenges they face in water quantity and water quality are every bit as important as restoring the Everglades. So we need to view this from a statewide basis. This is not an Everglades-centric problem or a Southeast Florida-centric problem. It's statewide, and we need to focus on it. Having said that, the strategies for solving some of these issues are different in a spring shed than they are in the Lake Okeechobee or the Northern Everglades Basin. So we need to have different strategies for different parts of the state, because resolving an issue of a spray field in Lake City is different than resolving an issue of creating a multi-billion-dollar flowway for Lake Okeechobee. We had two great panelists, Cynthia Barnett, who's an acclaimed journalist and author. She wrote a book called Mirage about Florida's water policy. And Melissa Meeker, who's been in and out of public life. She's an engineer in the private sector now, but she formerly ran South Florida Water Management District and really brought that district to a historic agreement with the EPA and the feds on how to clean up the water going into the Everglades. Really the most expensive and most critical piece of the water puzzle in South Florida is Lake Okeechobee. And if you go back to the 20s, we had back-to-back devastating hurricanes, killed 2,500 Floridians at a time when there weren't a lot of people in Florida. So it gives you a sense of the breadth of destruction. And as a result, the federal government built a dike around Lake Okeechobee. So all of our problems and all of our potential for water issues in South Florida really revolve around Lake Okeechobee as the biggest beating heart of water policy for that part of the state. The dike is failing. It's on the top 10 list of most unstable and dangerous dams and dikes in the country. They have begun a repair project on that will be many billions of dollars and many years to complete. But until we get that right, we will continue to have challenges getting adequate water to the Everglades, getting adequate water to agriculture, and getting adequate water to the millions of people who live in South Florida.
Another big issue that emerged was that a shortage of funding for highways could be a major disruption. Transportation expert Adrian Moore talked about possible solutions. Something that your panel on transportation will be looking at in terms of a disruptive or new trend, perhaps, in gaining more funds for infrastructure improvement is a new way of taxing for transportation. What is that?
So this is an idea of replacing the gasoline tax, which is increasingly not working because cars are becoming more fuel efficient, with paying by the mile, which means it doesn't matter if you're an electric car or a pickup truck, you're going to pay by how many miles you drive, which is related to then the amount you're paying is related to how much of the roads you're using, and so it funds the roads and the rest of the transportation system much more directly.
Healthcare challenges were also discussed. The president and CEO of Florida Blue, Pat Garrity, says increasing access to physicians through digital technology is essential in the changing world of healthcare.
Think about a typical scenario today. A child in a family has an ear infection twice a year, every year. The mom knows exactly what needs to be done, but she's got to trudge the kid to the physician's office, miss school, be there, go to the pharmacy, wait, get the prescription, when everybody knew what needed to be done. In a new world, you go online, you talk to the physician for a couple of minutes, video to video, you tell the doc what's going on, he looks into the record, sees exactly what needs to be done here, orders the prescription, and on the way to school, you pick it up and give the first dose of medication. that's a whole different world, and it actually fits the way we live.
A hot topic for discussion in the tourism session was destination resorts that have casinos on their properties. We talked to Frank Fahrenkopf, the former longtime president and CEO of the American Gaming Association.
So what you're doing is you're bringing to these types of integrated resorts not only people who are going there to gamble, that is usually less than 50%, but you're bringing there for shopping, you're bringing there for the shows, you're bringing there for tennis, you're bringing there from golf. And my whole view was, and I'm not an expert on Florida, that I think the type of people who might go to that type of a resort in Miami are the type of people who would have their meetings, whether it's a convention or whatever, or visit. They're going to load the kids in the car and they're going to come up to Orlando anyway to see Disneyland or Universal Studios. They're not going to come all the way to Miami just to gamble and do these other things.
We need to take a short break. You're watching coverage of the 2013 Sayfie Leaders Summit. Next up, summit leaders come up with a plan to specifically set a path for dealing with the forces of change in Florida, labeled BHAGs, or Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals for Florida.
It's an imaginary beast that needs to roam freely so that we can put it into a direction that benefits our state.